And from one Mo to another. Did you see what I did there? Mo Stewart, who was in fine action again in that press conference. We'll get to your question in just a second, but he was there in dispatches. 12 in 12 he's got against Bournemouth, Mo Salah. He'll be in that 11, won't he? Come 5:30 tomorrow night.
Firstly, I'm very happy to play second fiddle to Mo Salah. I think most of us will have to do that, really. I would expect to see him in the starting lineup. Slot did say that his record against Bournemouth doesn't normally come into it, but he did also say he expected him to be sharp and ready from being on the training pitch, and I expect him to want to use that. It's interesting because I felt like in midweek, Gakpo came off the bench and it really seemed to suit him in that situation. So I wonder if that's something else we'll see again, and maybe you'll see Wirtz, Ekitike and Salah in the front three, or the nominated forwards. It wasn't necessarily a front three against Marseille, but I wonder if that comes into it. But you look at the chance that Salah had late on against Marseille, he'll know that he should have done better with that, and that fire will still be within him when he lines up against Bournemouth on Saturday. So I would not be surprised at all to see him bag at least one goal.
Sammy's mind was working overtime and you were hearing him talking about Mo Salah there before, and that he does have various options, but as Mo says there, sometimes you've got to utilise that fire that was within a player to go against straight away.
Very much so, and I agree totally with you, Mo, regarding, as you say, the starting lineup, and we'll come to that a bit later on. And I think for me, as I mentioned before, start with them, give them that opportunity, and then you can implement the sports science minutes after that, or during that. But I'd certainly start them, because as you so rightly say, the fire's within his belly, I think, and I think he'll want to prove something again. He does that with every single game. He wants to prove something to everybody that he's the best, and I think he's been away for us for a period. I repeat, he'll want to come in and do so well against Bournemouth on Saturday.
Because that hurt will be evident, Mo, as well, that the fourth place finish. He wants to win every game, every tournament he plays in, won't he? So that hurt will be evident, and hopefully Liverpool will be the beneficiaries of that.
I hope so. I think it's a shame that it didn't really work out for him with Egypt, but the best thing that came from that AFCON campaign was he got back amongst the goals. He did score quite a few goals for them, and quite decisive goals as well. So hopefully that would give him a little bit more confidence, even if the end result didn't go that way. And we've seen in previous years when there's been AFCON, he's had a bit of a struggle to come back into the season and light it up. So I'm hoping that that's going to buck the trend this time. But Sammy, you'll know more about this. In terms of being a player, when you know that you've played well at a certain ground, hopefully you get that feeling every time you turn up there again, like you're remembering, I was fantastic here, I can be fantastic again. And he's done it again and again at Bournemouth, so I wonder if that will really help him this time.
Mo, sadly, I never had that feeling, as I'm sure you know, but I know these guys do, and you mentioned him coming back from the AFCON. The last time, I think he came back with an hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken, so I think now he's coming back again. Don't forget he left, and there's a lot of talk just before he left. Again, he's come back, and I think he's got an awful lot to prove. And the great thing about the top players is that they want to prove it game in, game out. And honestly, I repeat, the fire will be in his belly, and I can guarantee you one thing, that he cannot wait to start tomorrow. And our date, to not have to pick him tomorrow, I've got to be honest with you, which is why I put him in. I just tend to think, for me, he knows he's got this feeling against certain teams, as you alluded to, Mo, and Bournemouth is certainly one of them. They're a difficult side to play against because of their intensity. That being said, that could provide us with gaps for us to exploit, get through, and certainly for us to counteract them and counter-attack them, and hopefully finish off with goals and shots on target.
Well, we mentioned that it might be Mo Salah's favourite opponent, but let's just take a look at Liverpool's favourite opponents, because this might challenge your preconceptions. I'm not too sure, because we have memories of that late capitulation a couple of years ago where Bournemouth won late on. But Liverpool have won 12 of the last 13 Premier League meetings against Bournemouth. So there's normally, Sam, lots of goals, but normally we finish up on the winning side.
Yes, and that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow, because as you say, stats you can skew them whichever way you like, but as you say, there are certain teams that Mo likes to play against, apparently certain teams that Liverpool likes to play against. But that being said, tomorrow's a different game, and we've got to go in tomorrow thinking, forget what's going on in the past, in the most recent past, and as I say to you, in seasons gone by. Tomorrow we've just got to go and implement our game plan upon them, because they will have a game plan. They're well organised, as we mentioned before. We've got a great coach, as have we, and I'm just I'm hoping that tomorrow we implement our game plan upon them and come out with the 3 points.
They have lots of injury problems, Mo, as well. Obviously, Semenyo, he referenced there, is no longer part of it. He expects them still to play the same way and run lots, but they have plenty of problems, Bournemouth. You wonder whether that might just affect them thinking that, like we said before, Liverpool are going to give someone a hide, and let's make sure it's not us.
It could do, but I think one of the most remarkable things about Bournemouth under Iraola is how well they've been able to adapt to losing players. Not just players who've been sold, but players who've been out injured. I remember last season they had long spells where they had a large amounts of their first team out injured, and they were still able to put on great performances. And even the first game this season at Anfield, they just sold pretty much 3/4 of their defence, and yet they were still able to put on a really good performance. And I think that it won't be easy. You can't not miss a player of the quality of Semenyo, and particularly how influential he was. But they've still got some other dangerous players. I think Krupi is getting to that point where he's starting to really make a name for himself. And Bournemouth's recruitment is almost second to none. They're really good at being able to find players, and then you've never heard of them, and then 18 months later you think, wow, where did this guy come from? I mean, Liverpool have already stolen one of them, so maybe this could be turned into another bit of a scouting mission while we're here.
And you know what, Peter, I think, which play a big part tomorrow is our travelling fans. I think they always make noise wherever they go, and I think they're going to be very important. And another great friend of mine who's on our table, Jamie Webster, will be there with Zach, because I know these guys, they travel everywhere with a lot of positivity, and they'll have to be our 12th man tomorrow, because there are going to be periods throughout the game where this Bournemouth side, this intense Bournemouth side, will put us under pressure, and it's important that the 12th man play their part tomorrow, because as Arne alluded to before, he's got full confidence in this squad of players that he's put together, and again, the options that he's got. Okay, we've got a number of injuries, but we've got people who are able to step in. We talk about Ramsey, who maybe he wasn't available for Champions League, but there's every chance that he could be involved. Will be involved in the squad tomorrow. So I just tend to think this togetherness that we get alongside our travelling support, I think tomorrow's got. I'm really, really looking forward to the game tomorrow.
It's going to be it's always a great away trip, Bournemouth, socially. Just a quick one on Iraola as well, Mo. You alluded to it there a few minutes ago with their brilliant recruitment plan. Richard Hughes obviously key in bringing Iraola there in the first place. Simon Hughes now, who is a former captain of theirs that's taken over that role. How do they get that recruitment so right? Because it comes with huge risk as well, doesn't it? He was a manager that was under pressure almost straight away because they took a big defeat at Liverpool, but they've stuck with him, and he's a breath of fresh air for the Premier League.
He really is, and I think Bournemouth are as well. And what it really tells you is it's alignment throughout the club, from coach to sporting director, ownership, everybody being on the same page. And so when you put your faith in someone like a coach like him, then you understand that there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be things out of your control, but in general you're all moving in the right direction. You all have faith that everybody's doing the right thing. And you have to remember as well, Iraola's on this 1 year rolling contract situation, which I think is fascinating, because normally in that situation you think that the manager's always kind of looking over his shoulder and seeing what's coming, and maybe not necessarily as committed. But when you consider the way he's been able to shape this Bournemouth side and get everybody in the playing squad on board, and as I said before, sometimes having to go deep into the reserves and still getting performances out of them, I think it's really remarkable.
Can I just say as well, Brighton have a similar model, do the same thing. There might be something about the South Coast, but that being said, let's look at our model. Our recruitment has been superb. Richard, who you said has come from there, I think he's doing a great job, because we're talking about our new signings, our recruits who are now coming to fruition, albeit in the second half of the season. And I just tend to think, look at our model. Our model's been fantastic as well. We've lauded don't forget, at the start of the season, everyone said it was the best transfer window anybody had ever had. Now that's coming to fruition. as I think as Arne alluded to before, because he mentioned about the Burnley game. You know, he said he thought he may be the only one who thought there was positive to take out. So, but
just on that, Sam, because there's always two results for a coach, isn't there? How you play and the end result. And you're saying there that we're judging a lot on the league table and on whether you win, lose or draw.
Very much so.
So are you looking at that intrinsically as a coach?
Exactly, because as you mentioned before at the start of the show, back in 1981, you know, we ended up being fifth in the table, but won the League Cup and we won the European Cup, which is now the Champions League. So as you say, these managers, you have to look at the bigger picture. These, you know, Richard, they have to look at the bigger picture. Us as fans, we're looking at the game. You know, we must win, we must beat these. But to your point, Mo, you mentioned about Bournemouth and Brighton's recruitment. Ours has been fantastic as well, and I think now it's coming to fruition. We mentioned the improvement in Kerkers, Frimpong, Wirtz, I think has shown some great spots all the way through. Ekitike hit the ground running, you know, and unfortunately we have Isaac who's injured. But I just tend to think we tend to take away from what we've got in our recruitment. I have to say to you, and I'm not employed by the football club in any way. I'm a fan. I'm watching it. I've been disappointed in the so-called difficult watching. I've mentioned it before, but they have to see the bigger picture. And again, I'm just hoping that the Marseille, maybe I'm taking too much into it, I don't know. I'm just hoping that Marseille can be the springboard for us to go on, because I seen the positivity in them there, and mentioning the recruits and how they're improving towards the second half of the season. And I'm just looking forward, as I say, to this period, starting with Bournemouth tomorrow.
Let's pick up the Wirtz stuff then, because you mentioned before, I think it's 4 and 6, isn't it, Mo? But he is a player that, according to Arne Slot, could have probably doubled those figures. You think of all the games that he scored or assisted in, he's come very close to doubling that tally.
He really has, and I think that's the thing when you're a playmaker, and particularly assist numbers, you are so reliant on your teammates. So he can do everything. He can dribble past 6 players, lay it on a plate for someone. If they put it wide, then there's no assist there. But I think Arne Slot was dead on to say that he expected all of these players, who are majority young players, to get better over time and to be at their best towards the end of this season and maybe in the beginning of next season. But in football, we don't want to hear that. As Sammy said, that everyone kind of looks at the now. Everyone's very much short-term assessments. And when you've come in for as much money as Florian Wirtz has, there are lots of people in the football world who want him to fail, who want to believe that it wasn't worth the money, and are wanting to maybe make that assessment a little bit too soon, whereas Liverpool have put a lot of investment into him and it's for a long term, so they are now reaping the rewards of what they always expected to see from him. And I think the fascinating thing for me is what we've seen from Dominic Szoboszlai in tandem with Florian Wirtz. If we think back to last season with Szoboszlai, there were lots of talk about would he be able to have that creative output along with his running, along with his pressing. And you see his creative output has improved by having someone also as creative alongside him. So that really bodes well for Liverpool, because if teams think they can just load up on Florian Wirtz, well, Szoboszlai knows that he has the quality to be able to damage them as well. And it's that chemistry with his teammates that's really going to be what takes all of these new signings to the next level.
I think that